Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, this is Group 1. Our group members are Nadia Aulia Maftuha, Afandi Akbar Basharuddin, and I, Niken Octavia Adika. We will present a material about linguistic classification. Now, let's get started. Linguistic classification. Linguistic classification is determined by looking at the similarity of the characteristics of each language. Languages that have similar features are made into one classification. According to Greenberg, a good classification must meet non-arbitrary, exhaustive, and unique requirements. Non-arbitrary means that the classification criteria just have one criterion. Then the result will be exhaustive. Exhaustive means complete. Once the classification is done, there is nothing left. The results of the classification must also be unique, meaning that if a language has entered into a group, it cannot enter the other group. There are 4 classifications in linguistic: kinetic, typological, areal, and sociolinguistic. Jadi, klasifikasi linguistik ini ditentukan berdasarkan kesamaan ciri yang ada dalam setiap bahasa. Bahasa-bahasa yang memiliki ciri yang sama akan dimasukkan ke dalam satu klasifikasi. Kemudian menurut Greenberg, suatu klasifikasi yang baik itu harus memenuhi persyaratan non-arbitrer, exhaustive, dan unik. Non-arbitrer ini maksudnya bahwa kriteria klasifikasi hanya ada satu kriteria, maka hasilnya akan exhaustive. Exhaustive artinya komplit. Jadi ketika dilakukan klasifikasi, setelah dilakukan klasifikasi sudah tidak ada lagi sisanya. Semua bahasa yang ada sudah masuk ke dalam salah satu kelompok atau klasifikasi. Kemudian hasil dari klasifikasi itu harus unik, di mana bahasa yang sudah masuk ke dalam satu grup tidak bisa masuk ke dalam grup lain. Ada 4 klasifikasi dalam linguistik, yaitu genetis, tipologis, areal, dan sociolinguistic. Here is our table of contents. First, kinetic classification. Second, typological classification. Third, areal classification. And fourth, sociolinguistic classification. First, kinetic classification. So, what is kinetic classification? Kinetic classification or genealogical classification is determined based on the lineage of the languages. This indicates that a language is descended from an earlier one. According to this theory, a pro-language, ancient language, and original language will break apart into 2 or more new languages and so on. Genetic classification is used to categorize language into families based on their degree of diachronic relatedness. Genetic classification is carried out based on the criteria of sound and meaning, namely on the similarity of form, of sound, and the meaning it contains. Languages that have a number of such similarities are thought to be of the same original language or proto-language. Actually, this classification is the same as the comparative historic linguistic theory. It is the correspondence of sound and meaning. Jadi, klasifikasi genetik atau klasifikasi silsilah ini ditentukan berdasarkan garis keturunan bahasa, menunjukkan bahwa bahasa adalah keturunan dari bahasa yang lebih tua atau bahasa yang terdahulu. Menurut teori ini, bahasa kuno atau bahasa asli itu terpecah menjadi 2 atau lebih menjadi bahasa baru. Dan bahasa yang baru itu juga akan terpecah menjadi 2 atau lebih bahasa dan seterusnya. Klasifikasi genetik digunakan untuk mengkategorikan bahasa ke dalam keluarga-keluarga atau kelompok-kelompok berdasarkan tingkat keterkaitan diakronik, yaitu perkembangannya secara historis. Klasifikasi genetik dilakukan berdasarkan kriteria suara dan makna, yaitu pada kesamaan bentuk atau dari bunyi dan makna yang dikandungnya. bahasa yang memiliki sejumlah kesamaan dianggap dari bahasa asli yang sama atau bahasa proto. Dan klasifikasi genetik ini sama dengan teori linguistik historis komparatif, yaitu korespondensi suara dan makna. For example, ada Indo-European family. Di sini Indo-European merupakan family-nya dan Germanic, Italic, Celtic itu merupakan subfamily-nya. Lalu kemudian terpecah lagi menjadi beberapa bahasa. Germanic ada English, German, Dutch, Swedish, Danish, lalu kemudian Italic ada Latin, Spanish, dan seterusnya. Kemudian genetic classification also shows that language development in the world is divergent, spreading into many, but convergent developments appear to be more likely in the future due to the political situation and the development of communication and technologies. Jadi klasifikasi genetik ini menunjukkan bahwa perkembangan bahasa di dunia itu berbeda dan menyebar menjadi banyak. Tetapi kemungkinan di masa yang akan datang perkembangannya akan menjadi konvergen atau memusat karena situasi politik dan perkembangan komunikasi dan teknologi. Second, typological classification.
Typological classification. Linguistic typology is the analysis, comparison, and classification of language according to their common structural features and forms. This is also called cross-linguistic typology. This classification can be used at any language level, so the results are various and arbitrary because they are not tied to a specific type. Classification on morphology level that have been done in 19th century divided into three parts. First, use the form of the language as basis of classification by Friedrich von Schlegel. Number 2 is use roots as basis of classification by Franz Bopp. And number 3 is use syntax as basis of classification by Hermann Stendhal. In the 20th century, there are also morphological classifiers with different principles like that made by Sapir 1921 and G. Greenberg 1954. Typological classification types. First type is phonology typology, a description of the position of the phonemes of the language. Language can have very small or very large total of phonemes. There are two types of configuration in phonology, namely vowel and consonant configuration. We can see that there are differences in the configuration of consonant and vowel in various languages, ranging from language that only have 6 consonants and 5 vowels to those that have hundreds of consonants. Number 2 is morphology typology. This type can be grouped into 1. Isolative or no word formation. Number 2 is agglutinative or word structure is formed from combination of the main and additional elements, the main elements and the main elements, or the repetition of the main elements. Number 3 is flexion or word structure is formed by changes in the word form or declension and conjugation. Number 4 is flexion agglutinative. Is a combination of flexion and agglutinative types such as English. The third type of classification is syntactic typology. Syntactic typology is the form of grouping based on sentence structure or pattern. For example, sentence with subject at the beginning, sentence with the predicate at the beginning, or sentence with an object at the beginning. And the fourth type is semantic typology. Semantic typology, grouping language based on lexical and grammatical meanings. Lexical meaning is the meaning of the same word as written in the dictionary or meaning it has even without any context. Grammatical meanings is the definition contained in the word order. The third classification is areal classification. Areal classification. According to Lyle Campbell, areal linguistics is about the diffusion of structural features across the language of geographical area. The terms linguistic area refers to geographical area in which, due to borrowing and language contact, language of region have come to share structural features. Areal classification is based on reciprocal relationship between one language with another language in area or region, regardless of whether the language is genetically related or not. This classification is non-exhaustive because there are still many languages in the world that are still closed in the sense that they have not received external elements. It's also non-unique because there is a possibility that a language can fall into certain groups and can also be included in other groups again. Linguistic areas are defined. Lyle Campbell said that there are three criteria used to define linguistic area. Number 1, the number of traits shared by language in an area. Number 2, bundling of the traits in some significant way, e.g., at the same geographical boundaries. Number 3 is the weight of or complexity of different area traits. Some are accorded more significance for determining areas affiliation on the assumption that they are more difficult to acquire by diffusion than others.
Subpart 1 are linguistic areas. Here is some of the most known linguistic areas. First, the Balkans, also known as the Balkan Peninsula, is a geographic area in southeastern Europe with various geographical and historical definitions. The region takes its name from the Balkan Mountains that stretch throughout the whole of Bulgaria. The languages are Greek, Albanian, Serbo-Croatian, Bulgarian, Macedonian, and Romanian. Second, Western Europe. The language used is the Standard Average European (RSAE), a concept introduced in 1939 by Benjamin Wolff to group the modern Indo-European languages of Europe which shared common features. But according to Alexander Gold, the languages that constitute the criteria of SAE are French and German. Jadi menurut Alexander Gold, bahasa yang menunjukkan semua kriteria yang merupakan standar rata-rata Eropa atau SAE, yaitu hanya kedua bahasa ini yang paling Eropa, dianggap paling Eropa, yaitu Prancis dan bahasa Jerman. Lalu third, Mesoamerican. Mesoamerican language area is a sparse bone containing many of the languages natively spoken in the cultural area of Mesoamerica. This sparse bone is defined by an array of syntactic, lexical, and phonological traits, as well as a number of ethno-linguistic traits found in the languages of Mesoamerica, which belong to a number of languages family, such as Nahua, the branch of Uto-Aztecan, Totec, Otomangin, Mixacan, Mayan, and etc. Fourth, it's the Northwest Coast linguistic area. The languages includes is Tlingit, Ayak, the Athabascan language of the region, Haida, Tsimshian, Wakashan, Taimaquan, and Silesian, Elsia, and so on. And next is Ethiopian linguistic area. The languages is Semitic. Ethiopian Semitic languages interconnected word order patterns borrowed from neighboring Cushitic languages. Several of these traits reflect the diffusion of the SOV or subject, object, and verb basic word order typology of Cushitic languages into the formerly VSO Ethiopian Semitic languages. Then last but not least, South Asia, Indian subcontinent linguistic area. The languages are Indo-Aryan, the branch of Indo-European, and Dravidian, Munda, Tibeto-Burman, the branch of Sino-Tibetan families.
Sociolinguistic classification. Sociolinguistic is often called functional linguistic or a cross-disciplinary study. Istilah ini pertama kali diciptakan pada tahun 1950-an dan bertujuan untuk mencoba menyatukan perspektif ahli bahasa dan sosiologis to bear on issues concerning the place of language in society and to address the social context of linguistic diversity. Sociolinguistic is the study of the connecting between language and society. Adalah studi tentang hubungan antara bahasa dan masyarakat. About the way people use language in the different social situations. Premis dasar sociolinguistic is language is variable and ever-changing. Akibatnya, language is not uniform or constant. Rather, it is varied and inconsistent for both the individual user and within the among groups of speakers who use the same language. People adjust the way they talk to their social situations. An individual, for instance, will speak differently to a child than he or she will to their college professor. Seseorang menyesuaikan cara mereka berbicara dengan situasi sosial mereka. Misal, kita berbicara kepada seorang anak, pasti akan berbeda dengan cara kita berbicara dengan seorang profesor atau dosen. The socio-situational variation is sometimes called register and depends not only the occasion and relationship between the participants, but also on the participants' regions, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, age, and gender. Sedikit intermezzo. Apa sih itu register? Register is the way people adapt their language in accordance with what they deem most appropriate for the situation they are in. Adalah cara orang menyesuaikan bahasa mereka sesuai dengan apa yang mereka anggap paling sesuai dengan situasi yang mereka hadapi. And then, sociolinguists also commonly study dialect, which is the regional, social, or ethnic variation of the language. For example, the primary language in the United States is English. People who live in the South, however, often vary in the way they speak and the words they use compared to people who live in the Northwest. Even though it is all the same language, right? There are different dialects of English depending on what regions of the country you are in. Definition by expert. Michael Halliday, 1970. Deal with the relation between a language and the people who use it. Bahwasanya sosiolinguistik adalah linguistik institusional, berkaitan dengan pertautan bahasa dengan orang-orang yang memakai bahasa itu sendiri. Kemudian Peter Truckgill, 1974. Sociolinguistic is the part of linguistic which is concerned with language as social and cultural phenomenon. Sosiolinguistik adalah bagian dari linguistik yang berkaitan dengan bahasa sebagai gejala sosial dan gejala kebudayaan. Kemudian Creeper and Widdowson, 1975. Linguistic is the study of language in operation in its purpose to show how the conventions of language is related to other aspects of a culture. Sosiolinguistik adalah kajian bahasa dalam pemakaian yang bertujuan untuk menunjukkan kesepakatan atau kaidah-kaidah yang penggunaan bahasa yang disepakati oleh masyarakat itu dikaitkan dengan aspek-aspek kebudayaan dalam masyarakat. Yang terakhir berasal dari linguis asal Indonesia, Abdul Khair, dalam bukunya berjudul Linguistik Umum 1994, bahwasanya linguistik ialah subdisiplin linguistik yang mempelajari bahasa dalam hubungan pemakaiannya dalam masyarakat. Yang dibicarakan dalam linguistik ialah pemakai dan pemakaian bahasa, tempat pemakaian bahasa, tata tingkat bahasa, berbagai akibat dari adanya kontak dua bahasa atau lebih, dan ragam serta waktu pemakaian ragam bahasa itu sendiri. Dan masih banyak lagi. One way that sociolinguists study language is through the written records. Salah satu cara sosiolinguistik mempelajari bahasa adalah melalui catatan tertulis yang bertanggal. They examine both handwritten and printed documents to identify how language and society have interacted in the past. Mereka memeriksa dokumen tulisan tangan dan cetakan untuk mengidentifikasi bagaimana bahasa dan masyarakat telah berinteraksi di masa lalu. And this study is often referred to as historical linguistics, the study of the relationship between changes in society and the change in language over time. Studi tentang hubungan antara perubahan dalam masyarakat dan perubahan bahasa dari waktu ke waktu. For example, historical sociolinguists have studied the use and the frequency of the pronoun thou in the dead documents and found that its replacement with the word you is correlated with changes in the class structure in 16th and 17th century England.
So, here is our references. By this link, we hope you can find further information about linguistic classification. And this is the end of our presentation. If you guys have any question, please let us know. And we're sorry if there is any mistake. Thank you so much for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.